So for my TD recommendation, I focused on mainly the entire process of before the new Canadian immigrant, before when they're in their country to when they immigrate. But I mainly focused on before they actually immigrate and what setting up a bank account looks like before they come to Canada. So I talked to a lot of people who immigrated from India and China specifically, and we mainly discussed around their preferred financial needs. And this specific family they actually immigrated to Canada from India about 3 or 4 years ago, and they actually weren't able to set up a bank account before they came to Canada. And when they actually got to Canada, they set up a bank account with TD, and they found it really hard to send money between different countries. So for this reason, they actually switched to RBC in the end. And this was a common trend with a lot of people who I talked to, and they switched to a different bank account because of this reason, and also because of the reason that their customer service experience wasn't that great at TD. So that's mainly what my recommendation is focusing on today. So I focus on 2 key areas, the website and the actual customer service. And for the website, I'm going to be going through a couple of key problems and opportunities to identify and help with the website, as well as the entire customer service experience with TD. So when you go to the first TD homepage of the TD website, there's actually no mention of any sort of thing related to new to Canada. And as in the video, Sue said that the new to Canada segment is one of your biggest areas of growth, right? It's the biggest growth opportunity in TD. So it should be really a focus on the main website. There should be at least 1 or 2 buttons or something on the main website for, to guide new to Canada people to go to that new to Canada page. And it's actually not anywhere on the homepage, and it's actually under a tab called Solutions. So, how would people who are immigrating, how would they know that new to Canada is a solution, right? It's not really visible or easy for them to be able to tell. And most immigrants they actually don't speak English quite well because they're coming from these different countries. So it's super hard for them to navigate through websites in general, right? Because it's in English and they probably won't know how to navigate through the website. So the page is really hard to find. That's the first thing. Another thing is when you actually go to the New to Canada webpage, you're taken to this really old looking website. That's what it looks like. And it's definitely not updated to keep up with modern trends of web design. And the information on the website is really disorganized. So there's no definite sections. It's kind of all over the place. And it's really hard for them to navigate throughout the website. And actually, the most important information of the numbers to call, right, for communication is all the way down, and you have to press a different tab to be able to find that number. And my partner and I, we actually took a long time to actually find this number. And so I think that's the most important information. It tells you, how much money you can how much money you can deposit into your bank account before you actually come. And it tells you which numbers to call. And that's all the way at the bottom, and you have to press another tab. So that should definitely be somewhere at the top or visible to the, to the newcomers. So I have a lot more recommendations in here about the website, which you can feel free to go through later or ask me questions. Yeah, so when you compare TD's website and RBC's website, they have right there, their first thing is moving or new to Canada, which definitely shows that they have a focus on the new to Canada segment. So the next aspect is the customer service aspect. So like the first group, me and my partner, we also called TD a bunch of times, and we recorded the calls as well. So I'm just going to play one example of a call for you. Is the sound working? Okay. So basically in the call, we called a lot of them, and in this specific call that I was trying to play, we basically asked them, is it possible to set up a bank account before? And they said no, you have to come to a branch, pretty much the same thing as them. And then we also asked, we said TD offers some deals of 6-month packages. We were kind of talking about that. and then we asked if there's like a 1-year package, and they were like, no, we don't offer that. You can go to any other bank if you want. So she was like, it's up to you. It's your choice. Choose whatever you want. That was like one of the calls. And then another call, he actually hung up the phone on us. We were like talking, and he was like responding, and then he just randomly hung up the phone. And then there was a lot of inconsistencies between all the different reps. So some of them said it's like a six-month package. Some of them said it's a 1-year package. Some of them said you can't set up a bank account before at all. So it was all like really inconsistent, and there was like if you called someone the next day, you would get a different answer. So that's obviously not good because, you know, newcomers, first of all, it's hard for them to speak English, and getting different answers from different people would make it really confusing for them to actually, you know, navigate and, you know, set up a lot of things. So that's something that definitely needs to be streamlined and taken care of. So we actually also called RBC as well, and all of their employees, they all said mostly the same thing. It was like one person said something wrong, but everyone else said the same thing. And they actually kind of treated you more like a person. So with TD, we kind of felt like they were rushing us, and they were just kind of like moving on, trying to get on to the next person. But with RBC, they actually like made small talk and kind of asked about our day, and like were actually interested in like the person, like us. And so we felt that was like a really big difference, and this is a gap that needs to be like bridged. And I actually have all of the calls, and I have Nadeem has them, so if you want to hear them after, I have them. And so I'm sure you guys all know why good customer service is important, right? Companies now mainly compete on the basis of customer experience, because that's, you know, what the user is actually interacting with, right? And let's say even if TD in the back end, if everything is good, but if the front end customer experience is bad for them, right, they're not gonna want to choose TD. So I have a lot of recommendations around the website, which you can go through later, on better design. And even if you change the newcomer page to what the first home TD page looks like, that would be a lot better. So even that would be amazing. So I also focused on a chatbot for my recommendation as well. And kind of to echo them, it's pretty much the same thing, but the reason a chatbot would be so important is because it's more efficient for the customers as well, right? They have 24/7 service, they don't have to wait on a hold for any time or anything, and they have consistency, and it's ensured throughout all the answers, right? Whatever they type, you know the chatbot is going to give the same answer to everyone. No one will get different answers, so that's why a chatbot is so important. Yeah.
How important is multilingual capability for this chatbot versus traditional?
Yeah, I think it's actually really important, because I know my parents didn't know how to speak English, and a lot of people who I talked to didn't know how to speak English at all. So I think it's really important to make sure that it's in like a couple of other languages, like the main countries like India and China, those languages that they speak. I think it's really important to make sure that it's in those languages as well, because it would be hard for them to communicate in English. And I think even though like text is easier to like understand than speaking on a phone, right? It's still a barrier for them. So I think it would be better to have those different languages. So these are the steps on how to implement the chatbot. It's pretty much the same thing as them. And my last recommendation is actually to be able for them to set up a bank account before they come. And I know it has to be frozen because of certain regulations, but the process right now to set up a bank account is really long. And from what I got from some of the calls, they basically said that you have to, it's like a 1 to 2 hour phone call where you have to like say all your information, and then they like type it in on their end, and then you set up a frozen bank account. So what I was thinking is that you can do this a lot easier digitally, right? So instead of actually telling them on a phone call when it's like hard for them to speak English and everything, integrated in your app, you can have a feature where they basically just take a picture of themselves and their passports and their like whatever other identification pieces you need. And then this information could be processed and extracted using computer vision, which is artificial intelligence, so you can extract that information. So let's say from the passport you need their name and their, I don't know, like their birth date or whatever. You can take all that information and use a computer vision algorithm to extract that information and get all of that done a lot faster. So this would just make their time so much more easier, right? They would just have to take a couple of pictures, and it would also not waste the time of the TD reps, right? They wouldn't have to be on these long phone calls for so long. So this just makes it more efficient for a lot of people. So this is an example of an algorithm that already exists, and basically here I basically put in two like random faces, and it was able to tell it's actually 99% accurate, which is more accurate than a human is. So it was actually able to tell whether or not these people are like the same, like if it's the same face. And even with really similar faces, it's actually able to tell a lot better than a human can. And so this is an example of what information you could potentially extract. So all the stuff in the red boxes, you could extract all of that information. So overall, three main recommendations to make the website look better with the same design as the front TD webpage, as well as implementing a chatbot and making it easier for users to set up a bank account before they actually come through an application. Thank you.